What's up, guys? This is Quin. I'm a Forbes accredited marketer and global keynote speaker, and this is the Hustle Inspires Hustle podcast. We are a self-development and entrepreneurship community for go-getters to organize their life and business. Get ready to gain knowledge from top-level entrepreneurs and world-class business leaders and be one step closer to becoming the ultimate entrepreneur. Before we start this episode, how would you feel if I told you that you could change your whole business process around with just $20? Keep on listening to the episode to find out how. What's going on, guys? This is Quin, and you're listening to the Hustle Inspires Hustle podcast. This week, we have a rock star on board. You guys may or may not have seen him already on Instagram. His name is just Jeremy, 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 and he's a badass marketer. What up, brother?
What up, man? Thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate everybody listening in too.
Hey, brother, I've known about you very, very little, but in the little that I've known about you, I've got to learn a lot, man. And I thought it was really, really cool with all of these courses and all these things going down in the internet. Somebody that's actually giving all of these value up front really sticks out and stands out. And one of the ways you really stuck out was in Social X. I learned about you at Social X. And I saw you speak. After that, I saw your social media, saw everything that you had going on. And for somebody like me who owns an agency and has been doing it for the past 7 years, it's been really refreshing to see somebody's insight and somebody and the knowledge that you're applying to everything that you're doing and the free value that you're giving and even the value in your course. Your course is really, really dope, man. We actually had a team meeting the other day and we were going over several parts of your course and everybody was blown away. So First and foremost, congratulations for that, man. Really, really cool.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, just happy to help people.
Yeah. So for the people that are listening right now and don't know necessarily, what your course is about, who you are about, why don't you give us a little breakdown?
Yeah. So I have a few different programs. The one that you're inferring is called the DMM, the Digital Marketing Manuscript. I created it back in early to mid 2017. After I taught in the Tai Lopez SMMA program, I was getting blown up about 10 to 20 people a day asking pretty much the same questions. The questions were, when I say repetitive, really revolving around how to deliver for clients, how to get clients, just everything you can imagine that related to an agency, legal questions, tax questions, finance questions. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So what I do in my main business that I've been doing for 4 years now is I run a marketing agency. And long story short, I specifically help personal brands try to get them to 7 figures a month. Most of the time, get them to at least 6 figures monthly, depending on where they're at. So all I do on a day-to-day basis, the moral of the story is I make courses for other people, with other people, and I market other people's programs as well. So when I saw the opportunity myself to, number one, help people, number two, mitigate all the same questions I was getting on a day-to-day basis, and number three, start my first program, that's when I decided to conceptualize that. It's helped over 1,900 students now since the time that I created it. So it's been just over 2 years now since I've had the program. I've shot it twice now. So the initial program I've reshot since. I just call it the DMM 2.0. I mean, I give everything. I give my legal agreements. I give stuff that I used to hang up on my walls in my agency, things that I hand out to clients, things that I give to staff, things to, for more of the executive and management team to use, all the lessons from failures, losses, things that mentors have taught me, things that, just hard experiences taught me. And I created number one, like I said, to kind of mitigate the questions that I would get on a day-to-day basis. That way I could help people in that regard because I could see the demand for it. But number two, an agency to me is the best business model that you can run because it's cash flow positive for you without having to put cash into it. It just requires digital skills or knowing some people's skills that you could sell, even if you don't know anything yourself. But the second side of it is after you kind of get involved in the game, and you probably experience this too since you have a marketing agency, you get to use your own agency for other businesses that you want to start. Like you can all of a sudden go into your own e-com stores. You can all of a sudden do exactly what I'm doing. Use my agency. We've created everything for my own personal brand, from the content to, all the sites you can see, from hosting the products. I mean, literally everything has been through my marketing agency. On the other side of that, I built businesses that I've sold that were e-commerce stores. Not for anything crazy, but, a couple 100,000 or tens of thousands here and there. All of that's just been from having the asset of a marketing agency. So I preach it loud and proud to everybody I can. It's the best business to start. It's the best business to scale. It's, really versatile depending on how you want to run it. You don't have to run it like Gary Vee does. I do quite the opposite of that. Low time commitment, low responsibility, high profitability for both the people we work with and myself. And like I said, it just helps everybody. It's easy to run. It's pretty cool.
I follow you on social, and I see all your posts, and I like the way your structure is set out. Much respect for Gary. We recently just did a project with Gary. So his team is amazing, but I see both sides, but I really like the way yours is set up. Yours is set up around efficiency and being able to, I see you read a lot, right? So I'm guessing it's very important to you to be able to make time to read and to work on yourself.
Yeah, books have saved my business dozens of times. And then obviously me working on myself, like you say, that's what enabled me to do everything. I mean, if I didn't build myself and develop myself on an ongoing basis, I'd be stuck. What I usually say is, you don't know what you don't know. That can kill you sometimes. Like, let's say you fly off the side of a cliff in a car and you land in water. That would be the worst possible time to pull out your phone to Google how to escape a sinking car.
Yeah.
Don't know what you don't know. That can kill you in that example. It's the same thing in business. One good book I literally just looked over and I saw it while I was about to tell the story. The 22 Immutable Laws of Branding. I remember I was maybe 3-4 months into my business and it just almost crashed and burned because I kept expanding on the services and adding more staff. And little did I know that there was a immutable law of branding that I was breaking, of expanding my services into all these different areas instead of concentrating it. And just that one lesson immediately led me to cut all the fat, if you will, create a big focal point in my business. And that enabled me to scale up upwards of 3x in the following 30 days. Books have done that for me dozens of times. So it's very important. Yeah.
You want to know something crazy?
Yeah.
Just so you know, I take your shit seriously from the courses, that you've put up, all the videos that you put up. I've been over the last probably 2 weeks, I've been on that shit. Boom, 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 boom. Much respect. So I have a folder on my phone with books that you either have on your course or that you put on your social media. I shit you not. I'm going to open it right now and let you know how many screenshots I have in here. Most of the time I'm on Audible, which has really helped me out a lot. To be honest with you, I found out about Audible in Bali 3 months ago that somebody showed it to me. I had no fucking clue Audible existed. So
really?
First of all, that blew my mind. I started listening to the books at 1, then at 1.25, then at 1.5, which is funny to mention. I watch your videos at 1.5, so hearing you talk normally to me kind of trips me out because you're talking fast as fuck.
I talk pretty fast, yeah. So 1.5 Jeremy would be pretty fast, man. I'm surprised you can keep up with that.
Yeah, bro. I put it at 1.5 and I go, man. Sometimes you lose me a little bit, so I got to go back, but I pretty much keep up. But right now, I have about 25 books on that folder.
Sick.
That you've posted. No, because dude, we're in the same industry. You're doing this and it's really good to learn from somebody else, man. One of the biggest things I had issues with when I was scaling my agency at first is I was afraid to ask for help or I was afraid to share information. And bro, you're for example, in your course, you share everything, dude. You show how to do an agency.
Literally everything.
You leave nothing out. I doubt you're leaving anything out because
I really don't. I believe in radical transparency. I believe putting everything out there. So what happens? Check this out. Okay. This is a real power dynamic. A lot of people don't get to understand at a higher level about being a mentor to 1900 agency owners is I transparently put everything out that I do and I get everybody's feedback on my actions. So I get to see, just as you are, you're seeing a perspective of that's completely different than every other student that's in the program. Your perspective on my actions gives me a new lens on things that I've already done, new lessons, new perspectives, and same thing, vice versa. Through all the different agency owners that are in the program, I mean, you see it in the Facebook group on a day-to-day basis. People bring a wide array of different problems, questions, opportunities to the table. So I get to also live through their perspectives and gain lessons that I wouldn't have otherwise gained, or I would have had to experience the hard way. So you constantly got to be open. You constantly got to be willing to get help, and you just got to be willing to be transparent. Otherwise, even if you seek help, if you're not transparent, you're not going to get advice that could really help you because you're leaving out key variables or key situations that could really prevent you getting actionable advice that can really help versus just getting something that might make you feel better in the moment because you're not being transparent.
Yeah, no, you got to put it out there, man. And obviously, as an entrepreneur, obviously, there's certain things you don't put out there. That's why it could be so lonely sometimes because there's certain shit you have to just keep to yourself. But as far as a knowledge perspective or wanting to learn, it's just, we always learn. You could be 50 years old or 60, you're still learning. You're either reading a book or learning from an experience, learning from a business venture. So you just got to keep an open mind. And it just goes to show that when you give so much value and you actually try to help, people respond well to it. So I'll give you an example. I'm always for supporting people who are doing a great job, right? But it's very, very difficult for me to co-sign somebody and say, yo, this guy's legit. This guy's good.
Yeah, I get it.
This guy's doing, because you know how it is. You get me? And shit you not, bro. Over the last few weeks of me kind of like digging, I already, over the last few months, I had seen some of your videos, but course wise, it's been in the last few weeks. Mm-hmm. I don't push anybody's courses anywhere. I don't push anybody's shit. I push my stuff because I know I could. Every last event, I've been doing events all over the world in the last few months. Every event, people ask me, what course can I take to scale this or scale that? I shit you not. You're not even paying me, dude. There's no referral program. There's nothing like that. It's just me straight respect. I recommended you to probably every single person that has asked me that question. Since you're listening to this episode, I want to make sure that you save my phone number so I can let you know about new podcast episodes or networking events going on in your area. Go to my Instagram, Alex Quin, AlexQuin, and hit the contact button and then text me. And you've made it really easy for them to find you because of your Instagram name too. You get me? So people need to realize that, like, you need to brand yourself in a way where it's easy to find you. It's cohesive. You need to have a healthy process with very little friction for people to be able to find you and respect you and fuck with you. And
it's true. It's a strategic aim.
Yeah, it is. You have to you put yourself in people's shoes, which is, it goes big into what you talk about a lot, which is about how you apply psychology into everything that you do. Which is something that I wanted you to talk about a little bit for my listeners to be able to be aware of that, because it's very important and it's overlooked a lot.
Absolutely. You know, there was this interesting perspective that I learned when I was younger, and it was when it was before Elon Musk really blew up, but it came from his perspective. I was watching this YouTube video. I believe at the time he was running PayPal, and he spoke about the inefficiency of communication versus the speed and efficiency of better ways to communicate. And I just want to be clear, communication is such a big part of every element of life. Like, if you walk anywhere, for you to understand anything, there either has to be symbols or words on stuff in your language or in something that you've been taught for you to perceive what's happening and to know what's going on. And I mean on everything. Once again, words being used, obviously there's no visual for that. You know, you simply hear things. You got to understand the total quantity of words that you have to use to get something across is, let's just call it a small 20x greater than a visual interpretation of something. And I believe the real statistic is you interpret something like 68,000 times faster if it's a visual. There's all kind of variables that would play into that. So when it comes down to psychology and the way that I use it, I try to remember that if I use words, there has to be a strategic set of words used that get my point across without using too many, and that align the way I'm thinking about those words into your mind the same way that I'm trying to actually get them across. A lot of the times when people say things or they show people things, obviously it's left up to the interpretation of the other individual if you're not strategic about how you communicate different things. So long story short, a bunch of little breadcrumbs along the way, different books and things like that. Tons of research online. I just started applying some of these different psychology principles into my marketing. And one of the biggest things that I started to learn was that the subconscious is so much more in control than what the conscious mindset is. What I eventually found out was that, here's a stat, 20 to 40 million neurons per second fire off at the subconscious level, only 20 to 40 fire off per second on the conscious level. Your conscious mindset is only dedicated, meaning the thoughts that you think in your head, if you're actually self-aware of this, it's pretty cool to become self-aware of it if you're not. The thoughts that you think in your head that your conscious mindset is developing are always just trying to figure something out that you don't know or to expand on something that you do know. Everything else is autonomous. Everything else is automatically interpreted, but it goes through this set of filters called biases. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when I started researching biases, the first thing most people come across when they start studying cognitive biases is from Charlie Munger. They hear either from like Ty Lopez, you got Charlie Munger's 25 cognitive biases, or maybe you read Poor Charlie's Almanac and you find it on your own. What I found is actually a Wikipedia page. It has over 300 different cognitive biases. I've turned them into flashcards. You're in the DMM. You could download them too if you haven't yet. They're in the resources category.
You're crazy bastard.
But, no, it's the best because long story short, the big point that I understood was that if I leveraged, once again, 300 plus different cognitive biases, meaning in different words, 300 plus different filters for how people interpret things. And there are some of these biases that are, honestly, like if not 100% of the population has it, an overwhelming majority of like 70% plus will use very specific biases more than almost all the others. There's a few that are only applicable in certain situations, but let me give you an example. Wide-ranging biases that are used in a majority of the population. Authority bias. Just perceptually, when data comes into your head, you view its credibility, you view its trust, you view the merit of any data that goes through your head based on who it comes from and based on how that data was framed coming into your head. So as an example, humans do not like to use energy at all for things that we don't know we're going to get a return on with the energy that we expense. So meaning if I go run in the gym and I do an hour of cardio, the big payoff for that is that I'll have fat loss, I'll have better figure, you name off a few different things that are the result of fat loss. That's what people link that to in order to expense that energy of running for an hour in order to get that result. They view that as a return on the energy they have expensed. Well, just in basic conversations, the same thing occurs every single time that anybody considers anything. If I'm going to consider listening to the guy pitching me while I'm walking through the store, I'm going to consider, is this data worth it? But what actually is used in your mind when you think like, is it worth it? That's what cognitive biases are. That's what those filters are. So once again, the authority bias. If you view something that is already trusted by a mass of other people, as an example, if you view something that's looked up to by other people, Rolexes, most people, they never actually buy a Rolex for, or any fancy watch for that matter, for anything other than the status, because there's a bias behind that decision that, really takes you out of wanting to understand the technology. It takes you out of wanting to understand what it's made out of. And you buy it simply because you become a perceived authority in that example. Long story short, money has a lot of authority associated with it. People who typically have more money, we know based on what it takes to make more money that they typically have more authority, either from having a high rank in a company, building their own companies and creating a lot of profit and helping a lot of people. There's just so many things that are automatically interpreted in the human mind that generate you getting to the decisions that you want other people to make. So if you're a marketer like I am, your job is to literally persuade other people and to get them to make decisions. And if you're like me specifically, like I manage $1 million plus a month in ad spend on a I don't know, a regular month, I guess, sometimes more, sometimes a little less. But point being, when you're spending that much money, it's a completely different game. It's a more sophisticated game. You want every dollar to come back, in a higher ROI, obviously, than what anybody else can generate for your clients. And applied psychology has always made more money than anything else I've ever tried to leverage as a marketing tactic. It's not like just been implemented chatbot as an example. It's like what you say in the chatbot. It's not just, hey, let's go create some retargeting ads. It's, can we actually think of the 20 to 40 different individual reasons that somebody's going to convert on this offer? And can we also apply some different biases into our marketing to further our ability to convert more people? These little things take you out of what everybody else does,
I was actually watching that. I was doing the digital skill pack for the Manychat course.
Nice.
Really, really cool, man. I learned a lot from it. I'm taking their course too, but yours gave me a different insight. It gave me a different, you approached it a completely different way that answered things that I wasn't able to get answered in theirs. Which is great because you're able to use these cognitive biases within your conversation for the chatbot.
Exactly.
Yeah, the way you teach, you're pretty much teaching it. And it's going to do the work of so many people. People can't sleep on it. We're actually partnering up with Manychat. They're going to be having an event in, is it Austin?
Yeah,
Austin
Conversations.
Yeah, in September. We're going to be out there. We're going to do streaming the podcast, and we're going to be doing a cool activation with them because we understand the value behind it. We know what's up, man, and you can't overlook it. So all these things you're talking about fit into that, and that's where everything is headed right now.
Yeah, I went to Conversations in 2018, and then I already got my tickets for myself and my team for this upcoming year as well. And it was a great event. I mean, he and by he I mean the CEO. Of course, he goes up on stage and he announced, I want to say a good 13 or 14 different features while he was up there on stage. Things that he rolled out over the coming year. But you'll get a lot of ROI in going, especially if you're involved in chatbots, because they'll announce all the features for this coming 2019, 2020, and then you'll feel strategically ahead knowing that each time they roll it out, you've already had that creative thought time to like think of some strategies that you can use for all this cool stuff. So it's a good time.
Yeah, of course. We got to be on the forefront of all of these things. You can't sleep on it or wait for it to start popping. Like, you got to be aware of these things and be researching. That's what I stress all the time to my listeners or people that I speak to, or when I speak at events. It's stay current with things that are going on, so you're not on the bandwagon, but you're already leading the charge.
It's true. I was just looking at my inner circles. I have this Telegram chat with like, it's got about 9-10 people in it that are like in this tight group that I have.
Yeah.
And I share updates in it for all the things that I find. And then they share some of their updates too in there. And I can confidently say that just on a 30-day basis, there's a good 7 to sometimes 12 different like major changes that are either in the algorithm or like new features, or like YouTube just announced new monetization tools. There's about 5 of them that you can use. I was reading through the article. I wasn't aware of 2 of them. And these 2 had been out for less than a month prior to the time that I just became aware of the new 5. So it goes to show you really got to stay on top of this stuff. And it's not like one update a month either. It's a good, as I mentioned, like 7 to 12 really significant things that'll occur. So
for everyone listening, how does the inner circle work? Okay, so they take your course, which is extensive, by the way. You have about like 300 something videos.
Yeah, 300. There's 304 videos in the DMM, which is where I teach people how to start and scale a marketing agency. The inner circle is really open for students who want to get to the next level of running a marketing agency. Like, you kind of figure out along the way that even if you have all this information, even if you're actively taking action, there's a level of accountability that you need, and there's also a level of access that you need, like to a direct mentor who you can just ask questions to on the fly, who can also show you things that you just might not see by yourself. What I've always found value in, and I have always kept not just one mentor, but like a cabinet of mentors since I got started. It's been so important for my progress to be able to have other people who are in my future shoes keep me accountable and give me perspective on myself that I can't see because they're further ahead than me in the game. Yeah. So as an example, each one of my inner circle students, one of them, his name's Jeremy. He just cracked $250K in 30-day basis. One of them's named Sean. He just cracked $100K. Both of those guys came in less than 60 grand on a month-to-month basis in their agencies. I have a new one from Switzerland. His name's Nick. He just joined in. He was at about 30,000 when he first got started. He's at about 60,000 now, about 60 days in. But just accountability, long story short, is it's like cheat codes to real life. Mentors who give you perspective on yourself. It's kind of like talking to your future self, and it's like a time machine, or like a little oracle that you get to put up to your ear and say, hey, if I want to do this in the future, what do I need to do it? You're actually talking to somebody who's done it, and therefore you get that counsel and you get that advice. You get to skip all of I have to figure it out the hard way. I have to read books for hours and days on end and try to find the lesson. I have to dig through all the courses. We don't let anybody in the inner circle who didn't actually go through the DMM in its entirety already, because otherwise it'd be redundant and I'd just keep referring them to things that I've already documented. So
you're wasting time. Everybody's
much more about like accountability and just kind of like the phone a friend, but it's phone a mentor.
Yeah. Well, that's really dope. Now, how old are you, bro?
I'm 25, just turned 25 on April 30th.
That's great, man. We're pretty much the same age, man.
Sweet. Yeah, I got started when I was 21 and a half. That's when I left Mr. Grant Cardone's.
but obviously you've been doing marketing for way before. You're probably a hustler in high school or middle school, making moves, starting some shit, right?
I can't say I was a marketer when I was in high school. Technically, I mean, I had a business. I banked $60K in 3 months with a video production company, but it quickly fell apart because I didn't even know I was running a business. It was more just I had a hobby that I got paid well for, and then point is, after I was about 19, almost 19 and a half, that's when I got my first office job, which also coincidentally I was a head of marketing at that gig. And that's when I got thrown into like really doing digital marketing and having to learn everything at a rapid pace. And then I had my job with Grant after that, and then I got started with my marketing agency.
Let's take a quick break. I want to tell you about a new way I run my business. So did you know that I was able to increase my workload and close more leads by automating my client onboarding operation over the last few months? I removed the friction points in my communication process so clients are able to approve, sign, and pay all in one go. This was all thanks to Honeybook. Honeybook is a client management software that helps businesses like yours manage and automate projects. Now, from the moment your clients are ready to say yes, they'll automatically receive the proposal, contract, and payment all in one email. So you're able to focus on getting more clients, less friction, and more deals. Thanks to HoneyBook, all Hustle Inspires Hustle listeners get 50% off when you go to honeybook.com and use promo code ALEX, ALEX. Now, let's jump back into the episode. You've been through quite the journey, man. You've been able to work with some really cool people.
It's been fun. Definitely some lucky opportunities along the way, and some great timing on other things that I couldn't control. But overall, I'm very grateful for everything that I've been able to do so far.
Bro, question. So obviously the agency life it's very time consuming. Okay. And then you have to be on top of a lot of shit. How was that switch for you from, or not switch, but obviously you're running this big agency, right? And then all of a sudden it's stressful as fuck. And now you're teaching 1,900 fucking agency owners how to run their agency. Huh? How has that been for you, man? Those are two huge responsibilities, which you seem to be doing really well.
Yeah, it's true. Well, for starters, I've always kept my marketing agency, even today, making more money than what I'll ever make off of courses and students. And I've always intentionally done that for my own internal model. I've never wanted to be the person who makes more off courses teaching whatever it is that I do, rather than making more of what I do comparatively to teaching it. So it's been a nice goal too. There's been a few months where I've almost outpaced myself, and then I catch up the agency and far exceed it. So anyway, point is, it's late 2017. It's October, and I set a goal. I want to make $1 million a month. The reason I set the goal is because I've always been taught, so specifically if you go back to my training with Grant while I was working there, that the solution to any problem is to always go bigger than the problem, and new problems should be encouraged in one's life and business. So I was, at the time, once again, October 2017, I was happy that I had this new set of problems. I had 27 staff. I had 3 offices. I said to myself, it's go time. The next version of myself that I see is running a larger agency. I have more clients. I'm making $1 million a month through this specific vertical, and it's go time. Did the math on it, calculated out what I needed to do, interview 17 salespeople over 48 hours, hire 12 of them in. I want to say 11 stick after maybe 2 weeks or so. I'm doing training 3 times a day, 1 hour each training. I have them starting off. There's a good photo. You might have seen it. It's in the Facebook group where I'm in the parking garage of my office building because I brought in so many staff at one time to help me achieve this goal. And we're in the parking garage. We have like a long plastic table, like random office chairs we could gather. It's like a weight bench in the back. So this is in Beverly Hills where this is going down. So I'd just play different games with the new salespeople that would come in. I'd tell them after teaching them how to do the 60-second videos that they can go walk around Beverly Hills that day. Shoot up to 100 different videos, and if they came back, there were like different prizes and different rewards, and based on like the quantity of appointments that they would sell and the quantity of closes they would get, that would also dictate different prizes and stuff like that. So it was it was a fun time. And then maybe 30 or 45 days into it, my cash burn versus the ROI I was getting on this new initiative that I had through that specific path of trying to make $1 million a month just was not doing it for me. It did the opposite. It really drove me into the ground. In a way where I was knowledgeable, it was driving me into the ground. I just reached this point where I realized the hard way that wasn't the path to take in order to get me to the level that I wanted to get to. I had 20 plus different clients. I had, I want to say between, like I said, 27, give or take, and sometimes upwards of like 29, give or take the amount of staff that might have been rotating in or out, or contractors, et cetera. The game just didn't satisfy me like it used to through once again that approach of running a marketing agency. I looked at myself like I was running this mini Gary Vee model, and I hated it. I realized that on a day-to-day basis, I had almost no time that was mine. I had to wake up, go through a very specific routine in order to just maintain my health, like work out, but I couldn't work out for as long as I normally do because I had a bunch of other time and effort intensive tasks spread throughout my day I had to obligate myself to. I was answering questions all day. I felt like a well-paid babysitter for the total quantity of questions I would answer for both staff and for contractors and for clients. The total quantity of new problems per day surmounted to the point where it was a never-ending to-do list that also never got solved and it never got checked off. So At a certain point, I justified that, checklists just aren't meant to get all checked off. And then I should just continue, and then I would figure it out. And, Grant always taught me back in the day, commit first, figure the rest out later. So that was the approach I was taking at the time. And once again, just kept going against me is what I felt like. I felt like I was going against momentum, if you will. Like if there's an energy force that you kind of feel like you're walking through, like if you ever walked through like a strong wind, it's kind of what it felt like walking into my business every day. It was like I'm going against the energy that I should be going with.
That was my life. For the last, dude, you literally, what the fuck? You just described everything. I
unfortunate thing. Like, this is where most people are.
Yeah, dude, it was very similar. We started here in Miami. I didn't expand to another city. We jumped through 5 offices here in Miami. The most we had open at one time was 2, 17 people. And I was going against the wind every day. My business model was all fucked up. My systems were fucked up. We were giving results to people. Very important. But internally, I was a fucking mess myself. Like I wasn't taking care of myself the right way. I wasn't taking the right approaches. I wasn't getting the right mentorship. And it was just constantly going from back and forth from office to office. Like you said, answering questions, putting out fires that never seemed to be put out. And it was just this constant rotation. And I realized I have so many clients and I have all this money coming in, but the problems aren't worth it. And it's communication with so many people. And I was making money, dude. I was making real money. I was making money where I didn't have to worry about anything. I was really, really good, but it was driving me totally insane and I didn't want to deal with it anymore. So I completely changed my business model. I switched to strictly digital. I moved everything. It was a very big change for me. I had to fire clients. That were no longer healthy for me. They didn't have the right traits and they were holding me back. And instead of having 25, 30 clients like I usually had, I brought it down to having 4 to 5. But those 4 to 5 had the right value behind them and gave me the peace of mind of knowing I didn't have to communicate with 25 other people.
It's true. Yeah, those some good lessons. The unfortunate part about these stories are this is a very common position that people find themselves in after they've scaled a marketing agency. Typically the first time around scaling. And at this point, I think I tried to scale up maybe 2 to 3 different ways where I was at that time in the October, November 2017 era. I had to do the same thing. I fired $109,000 worth of clients when I just kind of got fed up with everything, realized that the clients we were taking were the wrong clients, realizing that the projects, this is one of the biggest lessons I always teach, not to sell time and effort intensive services. And to be clear, we were selling things that some people would consider revenue-driven services, but they're not. We were selling things like funnels. We would sell advertising. Advertising is hands down, obviously, an extremely revenue-driven action. Funnels, though, are not. That was one of the big things that we would push to people. Sometimes we would sell social media management, so we would be creating content like image quotes or like editing their videos into different formats and all that fun stuff, and then posting it for them as well and reporting on it. Each one of those non-revenue driven actions, you can't get well paid for services that you're not making money with. So meaning if I'm charging an advertising client, which we do frequently nowadays, our minimum is $15K to $25K a month plus a minimum of a 10 to 25% rev share. So 15, 25K is a service fee that I'll pay up front. And then whatever we generate over 30 days, we're getting a kickback of 10 to 25% of whatever's net off of a rev share that we have set up with the different clients. Well, back in the day, when you're selling somebody a funnel, let's say, or selling somebody social media services, it's like those are non-revenue driven actions. Even though a funnel can make money, let's be clear, it does not make money until you have traffic sent to it. So if you sell somebody on funnels and advertising, which we would commonly do, obviously they have it in their head that they're going to be making money because the advertising service is attached to it. But let's say it takes you 3 weeks out of a 30-day cycle in order to create a funnel. Well, in that case, even if it takes you 2 weeks, you've only left yourself with the other half of that month or only 1 week to be able to advertise to generate an ROI for an entire 30-day cycle. The client at the end of the month looks at the relationship and says, well, this wasn't an ROI positive relationship. Why would I want to burn another 30 days worth of my service fee with you guys? I don't want to continue. These services that most people sell are complete bullshit, in my opinion, from, once again, hard experience of selling them myself versus selling the revenue-driven services, which I realized clients didn't give a shit, like a singular shit, about time and effort. They only cared about the results. Yep. And I realized this because one time I had a client, it took me less than 2 hours out of a full 30-day cycle. And I told the client this. We generated an 8-to-1 ROI And the guy was like, yeah, that's sweet. Sign me up again. And, he went around the next cycle, spent another $15K on the service fee. Same thing. Maybe the next month, I think it took less than 2 hours because we'd already spent the time in the first month creating a majority of what we just now had to maintain cumulatively over a 30-day cycle, maybe an hour. And same situation, 15K, recurring. That client's still with us today. That was my first hard lesson of, I openly told this guy I worked on his account for 2 hours. He doesn't give a shit because he had an 8-to-1 ROI. I've had clients that we've worked for you could consider it a full week or, point is dozens of hours over a month, let's say, for something that's non-revenue driven where the client doesn't renew because they don't care about your time and effort. They only care about making their money back.
And they don't understand, like, it's also like agency owners. It could be difficult, man, because you're dealing with another business owner, right? So he has his own set of troubles and shit going on. You do too. You're trying to make him money. And at the end of the day, when we spend money, we want to see how it's going to return. Yeah. We don't care if, like you said, easy. You could spend 5 minutes on it. I don't give a fuck. If you spend 30 hours on it and you didn't give me any results, what good does it do me that you spent 30 hours on it? So it makes all the sense in the world to approach.
I call anything less than 5K a month poverty pricing because you can't build a business off of anything less than about, in my opinion, 10K plus a month per client per service. Let's say you want to make $100,000 a month, which is only 1.2 mil a year. To be clear, that's gross. And number two, you're on that level working with 10 different clients. So 10 different clients. If you have a marketing agency, you can relate to this. If you don't, once you get up to 10 clients, you might learn this. 10 clients can still be a lot depending on the services that you've sold them. So if you've sold, let's just say half of those people, social media management, you sold 2 or 3 of them funnels, and even if you sold all of them advertising, literally 90% of your entire time throughout that month is going to go towards servicing these 10 clients. You're not going to be able to focus on sales. Maybe the next month you lose 2 clients. Well, because you didn't focus on sales for 30 days, now you don't have a pipeline. So now you don't have any deals that you can close. So now you're a little scarce for cash, but your expenses stayed the same. Your payroll stayed the same. What your contractors needed to get paid stayed the same. Whatever other expenses you had, like rents and softwares and phone services and things like that, stayed the same. But your income can fluctuate. So if your time and your effort is taken away from your ability to generate sales, and you're just delivering for clients after you get 10 of them, let's say, you get stuck because your business is either going to fail or you're going to have to take the haircut and fire the wrong clients so you can actually free up and make time to be able to focus on sales. Some might say, oh, just bring in a commission-only salesperson. Well, that's great. You got to train them too, which you don't have time and effort to do because you've sold all your time and effort selling the wrong services. If you have 10 clients that are 10K a pop, that's great. 100K a month. Let's say you sold them all advertising services. You might accumulatively between those 10 clients work a total out of a full 30-day working cycle, 2 to 4 days tops, depending on your level of skill as an advertiser and depending obviously on your resources and what softwares you have access to or what team you have and all that fun stuff, your experience. Point is, even if you're just getting started, if you sell 10 clients advertising services exclusively over a 30-day calendar cycle, you might work a week and a half. Once again, if you're at a lower level of skill and you don't have access to as much. That is going to enable you to still focus on building a sales pipeline, focus on being able to train and develop people, focus on being able to work on the business rather than getting stuck in the business from scaling it the wrong way. And more importantly, you're going to have cash that you can actually put away and you have a life that you can live. You're going to be able to take care of yourself, which is what we're describing right now. What Alex just described and the type of agency that you heard me describe back in late 2017, we have no time. Like, you don't have time to work out. You barely have time to eat. While you're eating, you're like in the middle of doing something else, just scarfing it down. The time you have to sleep slims up a bit because same thing, you've dedicated all this time and effort to other things. It's just not the kind of business model to run. So I decided to test it even further. I was like, I don't want to work with 10 clients and only make 100K a month at 10K a pop. I had a buddy, I can't remember what time period it was. It might have been early 2017. I was out in Hollywood and this guy I was with, he was like, yo, you have any 25K clients? I was like, no. He's like, do you have a 25K package? I was like, no. He goes, well, that's why. It kind of struck me in the head like a set of brick. Like, you remember Home Alone when the guy got a brick dropped on him? That's kind of what I felt like. That's how obvious it felt like it was. It was like, what an epiphany. Shit, yeah, you're right. And I went back and I'm talking in under 30 days from there, I had my first 25K client after realizing that. But anyway, after all these lessons, after I fired everybody, I fired a majority of my staff, scaled down the quantity of offices I had. I decided to really press like those lessons, that combination of lessons of I'm going to inherently get 3 new values, which were low time commitment, low responsibility, high profitability for both myself and the client, from the hard lesson that people didn't care about anything other than results. In addition to that, I said, I'm going to charge people upwards of 25K and I'm going to add a rev share on top of it. I didn't get too ballsy when I first got started with this. I just tried to retain a few high ticket clients like that. One of the first ones that I landed was Dan Lok, 25K a month, a significant rev share incentive on top of that, depending on the amount of revenue that I made him, and a key leadership position inside of his team as a leading consultant that trained at this point a minimum of a handful of people that now run all the ads across all these different platforms, besides just us being isolated in Facebook and Instagram with me doing it. There's a whole team full of people that are in there now. But my point is, that's just one example. I mean, we've landed guys like Garrett J. White in that same time frame, Brad Lee, the Harmon brothers, tons of different people that I can name, Ray Higdon. We opened up consulting. We opened up another course called Personal Brand University, which was specific to the people that we couldn't work with, that we wanted to help to get positioned, depending on where they were at, to either get into a consulting deal with us, get into a hands-on deal, or, if we couldn't help them at all, just get them educated on the game.
Yeah.
Point being, all these things were exactly what I just described: low time commitment, low responsibility, high profitability. They got extreme impact on the people that actually invested into these things. We felt like we had taken a brutal beating for the first 3 years in business. Hundreds of different lessons learned the hard way, just to be able to get to that point where I am now, where complete time freedom, to be frank, complete control of my schedule on a day-to-day basis. More importantly, extremely healthy mentally, physically in great condition, spiritually in great condition, just being able to focus on developing myself. Like you were saying at the beginning of this, I read 2 to 3 hours a day. I can't express it enough. Like, I had to work my ass off to position my business this way to be able to do that. Yeah. It's a
significant amount of time.
But here's what I've learned is I continue to do that. The reason I educate for that long in a day is because it pays dividends. Every time I increase my awareness, I learn another new way or another new pivot or another new perception on something I'm currently doing that enables me to further get closer to my two ultimate objectives are ultimate time freedom and ultimate power of choice. Most people are extremely limited on what they can apply time to, and in addition to that, most people are limited in their choices. The person with the most choices always wins. So I've just been in a never-ending game as an entrepreneur to once again, ultimate time freedom, ultimate power of choice. So it's been really cool. Everything you see me do is just through that perspective. Those 3 values and those 2 driving core beliefs that I have. That's how you see me run my business now. So 5 clients, give or take, that are hands-on on a month-to-month basis. Maybe 2 to 4 consulting deals a month that take 4 hours accumulatively over 30 days, one hour call a week. And then you see everything that I do with my students. Obviously, that's all digitally delivered. I do go live twice a month. And then in addition to that, I'm constantly, like, literally on a day-to-day basis answering questions. I'm the one who moderates the group. I'm the one who approves everything. I'm the one who goes in and answers people questions and coordinates people getting deals together. I just want everybody making a lot of money who buys the course. That's where I put a lot of my time for like fun and for additional lessons that I otherwise wouldn't be able to learn myself.
Bro, amazing. So guys, you heard it. Most of you guys that are listening to this, you guys are online marketers, you guys are entrepreneurs. You guys could definitely benefit from something like this. So look into it. If it's not something you could get into in the moment, enjoy some of the free content that Jeremy has out there.
Got tons of free shit too.
Yeah, dude, there's no excuse. So like, guys, if you can't afford it right now, apply some of the stuff. I'm not saying the only way to make it is through buying courses, but mentorship is very important. I've been talking to you guys about this for a while now. You need to ask for help. Don't be afraid to invest in yourself. Investing in yourself pays back tenfold. Stop spending money on shit you don't need when you don't have it, and invest in yourself so you could build something for yourself that you're proud of, that's self-sufficient, and then it allows you to have a better quality life. So Jeremy, bro, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. Is there anything you want to plug in besides your Instagram name, website?
I mean, people can always DM me. My Instagram is just my name, Jeremy, Jeremy, and my last name's Haynes. So point is, if you have any questions, just shoot me a DM, ask me whatever it is. Go to my YouTube, go to my Facebook page. There's presentations on there where I provide tons of value. There's podcast links, there's articles, there's just a bunch of free stuff. And then the program we've been talking about is actually a free like preview version of it. It's dmmguide.com/phase1. And I think there's, I want to say over 20 videos in there, and they're good. I hand selected them. So the people who go through that, you have a really high probability of making money as either a new agency owner or as an existing. If you're an existing agency owner and you go through there, obviously you'll make a lot faster. But if you're just getting started in the game, it's also meant for you. You'll go through it and you'll be able to at least increase your odds of making money before getting into the course. I've always looked at if you're gonna invest into somebody as a mentor, they should be able to make you money prior to you investing into them. So just go consume a bunch of free stuff. Don't feel obligated to pay for anything.
You heard it, guys. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for being on, brother. Okay, guys. So on this episode, we learn about the importance of revenue-driven services and how to properly price them when working with clients. Make sure you guys go and implement this into your business or service today. Don't forget to check out honeybook.com to automate your business processes so you could get more clients and get paid faster. Get 50% off when you use code ALEX, ALEX. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to tune in. I'd really appreciate it if you guys could share with someone, review, or even subscribe to the podcast. If you want to connect with me, follow me on Instagram at Hustle Inspires Hustle. Or you could follow me on my personal, Alex Quin with one N. This is the Hustle Inspires Hustle podcast with Alex Quin.